tenacity through this whole process. Black feminist ethnography, particularly in the discipline of sociology, is one that transformed and transforms traditional methods and methodologies that conventionally resulted in harm against non-white communities, specifically Black communities. This transformation obliterated the white gaze from an external vantage point to one that centered the internal and embodied experiences of people surviving systemic white supremacy. The craft of Black feminist ethnography is to illuminate the theoretical and experiential narratives people craft through meaning and encounters to situate themselves in a society that provided a groundless foundation. It is in the tradition of Black feminist ethnography that I found my work with Black girls who were moving through different disciplinary sanctions in schooling, and I wanted to learn their stories. Conventional data sources document the ways in which Black girls were punished, but we rarely read about the complexity of their story that both led up, collided with disciplinary punishment, and continued to shape their lives and their communities, families, and relationships. The beautiful aspect of ethnography is the return, and not a return to the familiarity of people in the field of study, but rather a return to the place in the midst of change. Changes that are minute in the moment, but tremendous down the line. The mutability of human experience is captured. This can be seen as a dilemma and consistency, but I see it as an opportunity to explore the import of disruption and life-making creations. In the chapter I wrote titled Love, Loss, and Loyalty, a Black feminist reading of Black girlhood, I share the story of Paradise and her best friend, Ashley, two Black girls enrolled in an alternative school that was colloquially referred to as the dumping ground for students perceived as bad kids and were mostly from BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, people of color, and from their communities that were heavily gentrified and pushing them out in areas of California. Meeting Paradise and Ashley changed the course of this research project. They were the first two I interviewed. I initially was interested in how Black girls perceived their disciplinary punishment in schooling within the context of their experiences of coming of age as Black women. The project quickly evolved into a project about Black girlhood, an analytic that filled in the embodied silences of Black womanhood beginning in girlhood, where knowledge is of how you know how to maneuver the world without words or material proof, and tracing and feeling trauma in the generations of family members without knowing what is your pain and what is theirs. When I returned to Paradise over dinners, side conversations in Spanish class, and errands for herself and her family, our conversations started at a new beginning every time. I say new beginning because she realized how far back her exposure to violence, isolation, and exclusion did not only shape her life, but the lives of loved ones, family members, and peers. Paradise theorized the significance of her own affective responses to the world, why she had more responsibility than her brothers, why her safety was constantly violated, and why friendship was the saving grace to tether her to a world that wanted to spit her out. The title of this chapter embraces the non-material affect Paradise and Ashley shared, and I felt in every meeting: love, loss, loyalty. An affective experience that resonated with every young woman who participated and shared their stories in this work. The work of Jennifer Nash and Black Feminism Reimagined After Intersectionality provided a theoretical home and inspiration for this affective analytic in her definition and understanding of the felt life of Black feminism, where, quote, Black feminism has treated racism and sexism as experiences, and how Black feminists have theorized what it feels like to do labor that is both desired and devalued, end quote. In these felt experiences, Nash illumines that affective knowledge is rooted in a politics of love, where mutual vulnerability and witnessing illustrate Black women's capacity to survive and collectively move together. Nash's love politic of witnessing and vulnerability informs my own methodology for understanding and writing about Paradise's coming of age narrative situated in the loss of loved ones and the loyalty of an intimate friend. In the introductory ethnographic scene of my chapter, I open with a description of the first formal interview. I include scare quotes around formal because I have spent time chatting and getting to know them by tutoring them in Spanish and history for 6 months. I rarely interviewed anyone in the field before 3 months of knowing them prior. I find that people want to get to know you as much as you want to get to know them. People want to know, why are you here? We sat outside drinking boba, a very popular tea in California, tapioca balls, tons of sugar, and chicken tenders. We sat out there for 2 hours. We laughed, we cried, we sat in silence, we joked around, we shared things none of us had spoken aloud in a while or at all. Toward the end, Paradise leans on Ashley's shoulder and says quietly, quote, God isn't gonna give me anything that I can't handle. I feel like I'll push through and I'll do it. That stuck with me. God isn't gonna give me anything that I can't handle. It stuck with me on the day Paradise had her firstborn son, the day that Ashley shared she dealt with depression she did not know she had until she graduated from high school. And every day I write, I speak, and I remember the faces of each young woman I came to know who held the weight of the world on their shoulders and pushed through it to survive and live through the loss of dear ones lost way too soon, the love that fills you up abundantly after you've searched for so long, and the loyalty of those who keep you in this world. The Black Feminist Sociology Anthology is the perfect home for this work because it is the embodiment of life-sustaining methods and methodologies to center lives that transform our worlds. Thank you.
Thank you. I think folks in the audience probably understand why I said I was moved when I was reading. The words that you were speaking now have that same effect. The chapter is beautiful. Thank you so much for putting that forth and the conversation you both had with the authors that you cited and the women and the girls that you were working with.